Hello everyone, welcome back to a brand new video. It's been a while again, like usual. You might recognize this because I did a little showcase video on it. The idea is if people are interested in any of the redstone builds that I build, and I would make a tutorial for it, and I got requested to make a tutorial for this one. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do today. But before we get started, I just wanna give a heads up that although this is a fully working design for a hidden staircase, I wanna like if you just look here, you can see that this design is not fully flush, and probably it's also not gonna be the most compact design. It's also not gonna be the most the cheapest design if you want to build this in survival. But the whole reason I personally like doing it this way instead of just copying some I don't know mumbo jumbo type skill level creating redstone contraptions is because I want to get better at it myself, and the best way to get better at redstone contraptions and everything attached to them is just by building them yourself, understanding the logic that's behind them, and yeah, so that's why I've built this boy myself instead of just following some tutorial. But I shall and explain how this works, and we'll try and rebuild it. So I have these two setups right here, um, because this one, as you can probably see from here, uses a triple piston extender and a double piston extender, so that these all get nice level here. Then the blocks just get swapped with some normal pistons, and then they get pushed back up by some sticky pistons. Now, these are not your casual triple piston extenders because your normal triple piston extender would end up with the block right here already. Obviously, it needs to be here, so I came up with. Uh, it's probably not the best design, but it's this right here. Whereas if I press this button, there you go. It is now at the level, whereas this level would be where it's flush with the floor, so you can give power to this block at a later state when they've been swapped. And I use a movable observer to give a pulse to the pistons, because as you can see, it just nicely puts them flush back. And then I've been working on that to make that neat. But if you look here, you can see that there is some more piston action going on, and that's this one, because this piston, I use some more movable observers to simulate a part of the uh, extension of that, because obviously it still had to fit within here, and building this whole circuit that I have here for the last piston extender next to the other one, which is a double piston extender, it just didn't fit. So I did it like this instead, and it works pretty good. So to get started, you want to start obviously with a base. Now I normally put a wall here because I like using upside down stairs here, as showcased in that design where I have the upside down stairs there to accommodate. But you could say that you're using like similar style um, stairs as the floor. You could still just do it like that. But in cases where you wouldn't use the same, I would just suggest using this near a wall, like so. So the first thing you want to build is the block swapper. I wouldn't fully build it just yet, but I at least get the layout right so you understand what is going on in that build. So this build part requires 16 of these pistons. You also want to start and make up which side of these you want to use as your on and which one you want to use as your off, because if I just show here, this is your on position, and you'll see there's like um, not only one array of blocks here and there's three here, whereas if I just close it again, find that instead you'll now have some stairs there, and that there is important because you need to know how many blocks you need to put on each specific side to obviously fit in. But like you can see, The pistons, they do not need to be retracted because the blocks that you push over push the pistons back into their correct position. So, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna grab some stairs and I'm gonna place them under here. Alright, so I've placed the blocks in position. So we've got our stairs, our top layer of stairs right there. We've got two blocks. These two blocks, and the distance these pistons have from the wall are for two reasons. The first one is that when these are pushed over, they are nicely flush with the wall, and you won't be seeing any pistons. And the second reason is to accommodate for the space, because if I go back to this example, if you look at all the circuitry that is right here, if I'd moved the pistons that way, trying to power them, it doesn't properly fit. So I do it like this instead. Same goes here, two blocks, one underneath the little edge, the other one on the outside, and then just another 8 pistons on that side. That's a very simple system. They basically do nothing but just push the blocks over. So the next thing you want to do is lay out the first layer of pistons, because um, you want to understand where everything's going. So it is going to be a tight fit. So after you've laid in your blocks for your pistons, you want to put in all your sticky pistons and the attachment surface for this case. So we've got one row of sticky pistons, one below. Then below that we've got four sticky pistons, one for the double piston extender, one for the triple. Then obviously for the triple extender you get another one. Then behind that, on this level, you will have sticky pistons and two observers facing upwards into the double piston extender, so that this can be pushed over into this gap right here and power them like shown over there. Um, then you have two pistons down the side. These I will get back to later. They will also be facing inward, and two here, which we'll also get back into. So when you've got this layout, you've basically got all your pistons in place. You don't have all the observers in place yet, and obviously you don't have anything of the redstone wiring just yet, but we'll get to that. So the next step is wiring up some of these pistons before we do anything else, because if we start doing other things like, getting the button in place and we press it and nothing's properly wired up yet, it'll fuck up and it will just make a mess because of the observers and the way they make your sticky pistons push out their block. So we're gonna start by wiring up these guys, and that's actually relatively simple. So wiring up this set of pistons is very simple. So you just have one of your default uh, repeaters into the back pistons, which are set to 3 ticks. Then the power going into that is set to 4 ticks because it goes through the block, and it also powers this redstone torch. And these repeaters set to 4 ticks, which powers these torches, because the idea is that this one obviously powers then that one. So what's going to happen is these pistons take 1 tick, to push out their block. So after 3 ticks, these pistons will push out their block. So after 4 ticks, these ones will be on there. Then, because we have a torch and another torch, it takes another 2 ticks. So 1 tick generally in between can cause fuck ups, definitely there's some lag. So 2 ticks in between, it allows these to nice and speedy push out their blocks to swap. So to rebuild this in the same fashion on the other side, we just get a simple square. We get 4 repeaters, set to 3 ticks each. Get power redstone dust. 1 block extend with power. We go 2 down because we get 1 there, and then repeaters at 4 ticks. We get 2 blocks across with a redstone dust on there. Then we get a block for a redstone torch. Then we get power on that. We crowd across. Oh, it's the wrong block. That's 4 ticks. And we add torches on top, and that's the exact same for that site. They do not differentiate between the sites, nor do these ticks that it gets put into. The timings to fire these is completely dependent on what you do prior. So now we've got these to work, we can actually test them with a single pulse. As you can see, I push them into position. And now if we do the same here, you can see that we've made a mistake because didn't push them back across, because obviously these blocks that are right here would have actually gone down and pushed into here where these pistons are currently located. So, well, basically, we fucked up. So, the next step is making sure that these pistons are powered with a redstone torch right here, and placing an observer facing upward or downward depending on your view, with a redstone line running into this piston, a simple block turn with 2 repeaters, and the same obviously for the other side on 1 tick. These are there specifically so that this redstone dust can power this piston, but also so that this repeater can also power both these pistons at the same time. But since these obviously are from the double, and since this one is from the double piston extender, this one has different behavior, so at one point we might need to power it on its own. So, to continue with the circuitry, I'm just going to start and build the block. It's a very simple but effective design. It uses 2 hoppers. In one of the hopper, you're going to have 1 item, which basically allows for a comparator output, which will rotate from both sides. It is basically a lot faster than the old style design that I used to use a lot. As you can see, it's fluctuating because the item is fluctuating between the 2, but we just add these blocks right here, torch there, torch there. So now whenever you power these, whenever you power, your input's going to go into this block. So whenever you power this, as you can see, because you turn that one off, but this one then turns on, meaning that the item in it allows to move over, but it won't be allowed to go back because this torch is now on. Whereas if you then turn it off again, it returns the power to this one instantly. So whenever you power it, it swaps. Very simple design, very, very fast, which is lovely. That's exactly what we're looking for. So I'm just going to place a button right there, which allows us to basically switch whenever we want it. So, since these comparators only give a single output, I use a piston single pulse creator for both sides. I would use observers, but the issue is that observers also notice whenever these blocks go out, whereas if you have this, you only want it to send one pulse, not two. So if you use an observer instead of like one of these, uh, it ends up sending a a double pulse, and then that will fuck up the whole system. That's not so fun, honestly. So I just use a piston extender using this method, so I can send a single pulse through. Now, the redstone that is attached to these particular blocks can be very confusing. Um, I It's only that because of how compact I had to make it. So we have two repeaters firing into it, with the outer ones set to 4 ticks. This is because of how these are going to be fired, because obviously when you have them going in one way, you want to fire them early because they need to go up. But on the other side, you want to fire them late because they need to be the last one to retract. So depending on which line is going to be coming out of that one, we will be lighting it into a different piston here. So we have this contraption here that also needs power. So we're going to be output through here. So you want to grab output through these blocks that you're firing this specific repeater through. So on this side, you're going to have a repeater set to 3 ticks, and on this one, you're going to have a block that is hidden. And that specific piece of dust, like so, because otherwise this one would also activate it. Then up here, we're gonna have two, as you can see, stupid thing. We'll fix that later. This is gonna happen more. We're gonna use 2 observers again. They'll be facing this way. No, that way. Same goes over here. These will be the observers that will be dealing with the distance right here. So we'll have power. We'll have the redstone dust run into here. So we'll have these pistons firing when these observers notice a detection. Um, Hold up, I'm putting them the wrong way around. That's very important. Otherwise these are not going to do much. Then we're going to put another block right there so these don't actually get attached. And we're going to place redstone wire here. This is not gonna interfere with this line here. It is because these observers need to be powered individually at one point, which is gonna be done using a repeater that is gonna be here. But we'll get to that part of the circuit later. So next up, we're gonna be wiring up some of the circuits that are more important to the other components in this circuit. So right here near this redstone torch, we're going to build a little square because we need to build a, well, sort of ABBA circuit. So what happens here is it's going to turn off, but it's going to stay on for another 7 ticks. So it gains power from this, then it will get power from this, but before the pulse dies out here, this will be powered. So stay on until this also dies. This is important because we need it to stay on, because obviously otherwise we'll get weird behavior with the pistons in the this part here, because these ones will be sending power to this one in particular, and they need to stay on for the right amount of time. Now same goes up here with this piston here. This piston here also needs similar sort of circuit. this circuit is a bit more, well, it's kind of built silly because of the way I wanted it to fit within its space right here. So we've got a repeater here, which is only because there's a redstone torch there, and otherwise it would not work properly. And we have a single repeater there and another one there set to 3 ticks because we want a 4-tick delay, but the way I've got it wired, there is not enough length from the redstone dust to make it all the way over to there. So I have done it like that, and I've tried it in different ways, but it just messes up. So doing it like this is the most, well, not the most like simplified way, but it's the way that works best for um, what I've tried, which is what we're going for. So we get a repeater there, so 3 ticks, corner, not observing. The repeater set to 1 tick, and then got this wired up. So the next thing I want to wire up are some of the other observers down there. So we've got those 2 observers here that are facing downward. They will be noticing a redstone update because we are going to be sending a pulse that way also. And they are going to be linked up very similarly. Then we've got this part here, which is also, because remember this one right here, well, this is actually a very simple circuit because it's going to be a single pulse cylinder like beforehand, basically, and it's going to be wired up into this part here, like so. That way, when this gets fired, these 2 pistons, these 2 in particular, but not the other ones, will also fire. Now, we will have a similar thing attached to this one, but this one instead will be attached to firing these 2 side uh, lines that we just laid. So, although you could hook it up into this one, I generally hook it up into this one to just save a little bit of redstone because you only need 1 repeater instead of 2, but I mean, this build ain't cheap anyway, so it really depends on how you feel like building it. Obviously, the way I build it is just the way that I found it working. This is basically just what I had working for me because obviously I had to build this and design it myself, and that took a while. So here we've got a repeater set at 4 ticks. And we've got a repeater power in, and it's basically very simple. Whereas this is going, it's basically just a very simple wire hooked up into here. So this one will fire, and then these 2 pistons, these ones here, that will fire also. The timings are very difficult to explain, but the whole idea is basically, whereas if you were to press the button in this case, you want the top pistons to fire first, then you want those to fire, so that the stairs are in place, then you want these 2 to come back up, so you have your stairs at the same level, and you want those to retract 1, and those to retract 2. The other way around, you want to first get them all back to the same level, so you want to put those back 2 up, that one back 1 up, and that one back to this level, and then you want to push them back across, and then you want to power the last one. So, obviously, certain things might look complex, like these observers here with their pistons pushing them over, but these are only to give power to, like, for example, these blocks here, because as you can see, they don't get any other source of power. Um, these observers are for that exact reason, that these pistons can also get some power. Now, um, this circuit, it's gonna be running off single pulses, so these will be spitting out their blocks and taking them back at a later state. It is very important that the timing is perfect, because the tiniest mistake, like even if it's just like that, it can make the thing like mess up completely. I've been like, when I designed this, I had so much struggle with timings just because some pods seem to go really slow, and I even checked out all the repeaters and the time I used for it, and it just was very, very good. Now we're at this stage of the build though. Everything is properly wired up, like the connections are there. There's just one thing that needs to happen, and that's to connect everything that is here to here, so that when you press these buttons, everything properly connects. Now, um, obviously, you want to make sure that this is in the right state, because currently it is closed. So it should be in the closed section, because you want to, when you click the button, you want to send power to here, and you want to make sure that this P flip-flop is in the right position before you even connect anything to it. Because if you were to press the button and it's the wrong way around, it will obviously start running the circuit, and you'll have like things firing there even though you need these to be firing, and it'll just become a massive mess. So to start off, we have a repeater at 1 tick running this way that will power this section here. Then we have a repeater running out of that 1 tick that will run towards this section here. This needs to be duplicated for the other side, because obviously this power also needs to go there. So very simply, we just do run this line across to here, which will cause the power part of the circuit, and then do the same with the repeater as we did on this one. Running into the circuit for the other side. We're going to put a piece of redstone here, repeater there, single tick, and we're going to be running a redstone line this way. This one just straight up connects into here, which is very nice. Then we need a repeater set of ticks right here, which is gonna go two ways. It's gonna go towards the other side of the contraption, but at the same time, this one is also going up towards um, get it? It's gonna go upwards towards this part right there. Which will power these pistons, this section here once again after a little of delay, so it can obviously push the blocks back up. So at the back here, we are gonna make a little sideways staircase, which is going to both allow these to get power, as well as to allow us to put in power from the line that we are sending across. that is everything wired up for this side of the contraption. Now to move on to the other side's a bit more redstone, or at least repeater intensive, because of the amount of times that you need to wait for certain things to happen, because you obviously need to wait for all these pistons to come back up to this level that they are at now. So to start off, we're just gonna go and run a redstone circuit into these guys. We could take a power to. They just run a simple circuit into there. Then over here, we're gonna have circuit extend. Um, well, we're gonna need um, to obviously attract these pistons as first step when it comes to this part. Then we have a piston. We'll have one repeater in the middle, which I'll put one up there just in case, because we know it's not fully expressed. So, which is just gonna make sure that the triple piston stuff is gonna extend first. So then next what we're going to need is we're going to need to send a redstone signal towards this particular part of the circuit. I just realized I made a mistake in terms of wiring, I think. But I can easily put that now. Because obviously the pistons need to attract the stairs that will currently be at the top part of the contraption before we can move on to anything else. This will actually be one of the first parts of the contraption in return sequence. And I forgot this actually needs to be repeated separately on the tick. 8 pulse delay that is needed to hold for this guy right here, which will be like that. And then we need to apply power to this, so we just get a repeater. We're gonna need to make sure it's a single pulse, and it needs to be a 9-tick delay. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna it's kind of gonna be a little bit ugly here, but it is not the crucial part that matters. It doesn't matter if it's ugly. So we're gonna put a plug there to prevent this power from going there. And then some power like that. So then this will. Oh shit. That's not good. That's not good. Oh. Alright, so I fixed it. Obviously, the way I've built it originally is not quite exactly the same in terms of how I've placed this and wiring everything up. So what I've done is basically I've moved this along a little bit. So this will still power through. This circuit will still run. This will still have its 9-tick delay. One pulse will tick that way, and then this will obviously also power these other contraptions, but it won't power specific pods. So obviously we've got the repeaters in place to prevent that from happening. And that is everything. So um, yeah, the best thing we can do is actually just press this button and hope everything functions the way we want it. And why the fuck is so everything functions the way we want it to, except for one part, which is this piston right here. I don't understand why. Hold on, let me just check that. Make sure all the timings are right, because, well, that's generally what happens if you have a wrong timing or an extra pulse. It's generally when these things go wrong. Welcome back, guys. After long figuring out what the fuck's wrong with this, I figured it out. It's because down here, where we have this repeater here, it's not just any block, it's a one pulse generator. I forgot about that. So beautifully closes. Now if we open it back up, because it's a one pulse, and now we have a beautiful staircase down. So this is as flush as you're gonna be able to get it with this design, which I mean, it isn't the best, but I personally do like the fact it's seeing a little bit of redstone because I think it looks pretty fucking sick. But yeah, that is my 4x2 hidden staircase design. That is everything. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you understand how everything works. If you have any questions, be sure to just leave a comment below and I'll be sure to answer. Um, yeah, if you like this video, you know what to do. And I'll see you on the next video.